You'll be convinced after this episode, but if you want more Steve, go back and listen to the old episodes. There's, we've gone through stuff like how to control tilt, which I need reminders of month after month. We've talked about staying focused, through an hour and a half long trials ticket. How do you play your best in game 1 and your best in game 7? Some habits to get into the zone. What kind of state of mind am I the best player in? And one of the biggest things that has almost sort of defined our approach to improvement is the growth mindset, which is how do you prepare your brain to accept change and to be willing to improve rather than a fixed mindset where you just get stuck.
Yeah, I mean, people, I think, just in general in life are a little bit resistant to change. I mean, just think about like when you were in school and you had your seat in that classroom, right? And somebody else sat in that seat. Like all of a sudden your mind was like, oh man, but that's my seat and I feel all weird now, right?
Get out!
Get out of my seat.
So is there anything like, just sort of like generic long-term that we can work on? Maybe it's not really working on anything, but it's clear that the game will throw surprises at us. It is not new. It's not new to the Festival of the Lost. There's always been a little change-ups here and there, and it comes at us, and some people receive it well, some people don't. What do you say to someone who doesn't want to get irritated by that sort of thing?
One question that I would have for somebody like that is really asking them why they're avoiding that particular challenge, right? And so if it comes down to like they don't feel like they're confident, they don't feel like they'll be successful at it, and maybe part of that lack of confidence just comes from the fact that they've never done it before, they've never played that type of gamed variant. There are definitely some things that you can do when it comes to confidence to boost that, because we know that confidence definitely has an impact on your performance.
So tell me a bit about that. I mean, I know looking back sort of over my own experience, some of the things that I love the most now are things that I hated when I first tried them. I'm like, Rumble is my absolute favorite game mode, but those first couple Rumble matches, I wanted to go to orbit and never come back.
First like 10 are tough.
So stressful.
First 100 for me.
I never quite have a sense of whether, do I dislike this thing just because I'm bad at it and I feel just confused and like it's moving too fast for me, but I will come to enjoy it eventually? Or is this just not for me and I shouldn't bother playing with it anymore?
Well, I ask you guys, so where does confidence come from? Like the fact that you feel like Bones feels pretty comfortable with a sniper these days, Swain, you're crushing fusion rifles. Like where does your confidence come from using those particular tasks and getting into a competitive environment?
That's a good question.
Ooh, tough question, Birds.
Look inwards.
Putting you on the spot.
I mean, I would say, and again, I'll use Rumble as my example here because it's just been the biggest change for me, is that I would say just having had a bunch of experiences to sort of look back on and saying like, I might have been down 500 points, but I know what I'm doing. I know I can make these shots, and pulling the win out is the thing that kind of keeps me calm when I find myself again down 500 points, but know that I've got a chance to win.
Totally. And that's the typical example that you'll get is when you ask, where does confidence comes from? It comes from previous success. And so that was one of the things that I want to talk about this week is for those players, listeners that are playing trials for the first time or trying this map with a sniper for the first time, or even that spooky trials a couple weeks ago, like where can you bring confidence from if you haven't done that before?
Go on.
Okay. So confidence is one of these things that's very transferable. And so if you've done similar tasks before, as long as you're using your thoughts effectively, you can transfer some of that confidence.
Makes perfect sense to me because it's sort of like, all right, so what is it that helps you win a round in everyday trials? Maybe that's, baiting people in with your shotgun. Maybe that's having the best angle with a sniper rifle that someone didn't expect. And basically, it's sort of saying create that scenario in the unfamiliar environment. So if you are good at getting those angles, but suddenly it's different, you sort of have to figure out like, okay, all right, this is fine. How can I make this more like what I'm comfortable with? That actually, that really does resonate with me because it is part of like, it's how Fizzer plays. We've been talking about his approach to the game recently, which is like, let the game move in front of me and I will place myself in a way that it will sort of fall into place because this is how I like it to go, and you have a little bit more control of the game. And I think the problem people have sometimes in unfamiliar scenarios is to just sort of run around blindly rather than, giving it a second to fall into place.
People just in general with life are very aware of their areas for improvement, their weaknesses, the things that they need to get better at. But what they spend a lot less time focusing on and being aware of is what they're good at already and what their strengths are. And really, when you think about it, when you're in an uncertain situation, like playing a new game mode or playing a new game or anything in life, you want to be able to leverage your strengths as much as possible. And so if I gave you 2 minutes, you should be able to get down at least 10 of your strengths because you want to leverage those strengths in some of those uncertain situations.
That's really interesting because, I don't think of it in the sense of just like being, the easy task of diagnosing your problems. I feel like I might say that's more difficult, or at least that's why I review gameplay or something like that. But when you put it like that, it's like, yeah, I guess I don't really talk about what I do well at all. I mean, maybe sort of in the conceptual sense later on the show, but never in game, never when I'm in the game of going like, oh, that was great, I should do more of that. I just sort of, maybe save a clip here and there and then don't think about it ever again.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that like you never want to focus on your areas of improvement and weaknesses, right? Like I know, Sway,
Right.
you're focused on like a couple of things this month that you want to improve on, and you guys have talked about it many times. And I even said like you want to set goals for yourself, you want to have them be very specific, process-oriented goals. But think about the power of also knowing your strengths and leveraging them. And then if you're working with a team, a team dynamic and cohesion is being able to leverage everybody's strengths and have them kind of work synergistically.
Steve, do you have any advice for people that are struggling to find their strengths? Like, what is there anything that they could do to like kind of like pinpoint what they're good at?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things. One of them is what you already do, or some of you already do, which is review your gameplay, but look at it in a different focus. So many people, when they review their gameplay, they're looking for areas for improvement, which is absolutely fine. Like I said, I encourage that. But there's also a real benefit to watching your gameplay and seeing some of the patterns of what you do well. And like I said, making a list of those and keeping those available for you. The other thing that I would say is talk to the people that you normally play with, because they'll know what you do well, because usually they're letting you leverage your strengths. So talk to the guys that you usually play with and see if you can get some feedback from them.
Hey guys, I'm fishing for compliments right now. What can you give me?
Birds, you're a level-headed guy.
I will say you're bad at making lists that require 10 items.
Yeah, that's true. I just added
attends.
fantastic, terrible fashion sense, which brings me up to 7. So
Yeah,
almost there.
you have the ugliest guardians, that's for sure. So to wrap it up, you got ways to approach change. You don't have to love it. It doesn't have to be your new favorite game mode. You can, you can say, you know what, this one's not for me. But if you want to get in there and if you do want to figure it out, you can look back at your own strengths and see, how can I use these to my advantage and how can I get the game to work for me?
Let me ask you one last question. We've all been playing this game. Probably most of our listeners have been playing Destiny for a long time now. But I remember when I first started playing Destiny, and in particular got into the Crucible, I didn't think I was good at anything, like just consistently bottom of the board. When you're just at the beginning of that learning curve, and it's a learning curve, you're going to get there somewhere, but you just don't have anything to build off in terms of sort of the conventional skills of like, having good gun skill or having good movement. If that's just not there, what are some things that people can get started with when they're starting on this Crucible journey?
Well, definitely one of the things is realistic expectations again. So, you're not going to be at the top of the leaderboard when you first pick up this game. If it's a little bit different than Call of Duty, it's a little bit different than Halo. So don't expect that 3.0 KD right off the bat. But a lot of things that you're talking about there, Birds, is focusing on process-oriented things and seeing progress with that. So, lining up your shots a little bit better, aiming for the head, and getting 3 taps with a pulse rifle. knowing the maps a little bit better and starting to understand where people are with their shotguns or where the sniper lanes are. Those are the things that when you're beginning to play a game like Destiny, you can immediately start to see some progress. And if the expectations are is that I'm just going to get a little bit better each day, each game, then you're not going to be as frustrated as if you are expecting, like I said, top of the leaderboard, winning 5 out of 6 matches and 2.0 KDs.
True.
There it is.
All right. Anyone who hasn't heard them all, go back through the archives, do a search for Mr. Steve, and listen to them all.